it's Samantha and I'm in the kitchen today to hopefully share some freezer meals with you all. I am self-proclaimed or self-titled not a great recipe sharer because I don't keep any measurements of anything. But I'm going to try and show you maybe the process of how I put my freezer meals together just as much as the actual recipes, which will most likely just be linked down below because, like I said, I'm terrible at that sort of thing. First of all, I want to show you a few things that I have purchased to kind of store the freezer meals that I've gotten. So the first thing I purchased are different sizes and shapes of this Reynolds bakeware. And what I plan on doing with this is putting the items in the bottom and then probably doing a layer of plastic wrap and then a layer of foil. And then I'm still undecided about putting the lids on, so we'll wait and see about that. I also purchased a box of Ziploc freezer bags and the gallon size, and then also in the 2-gallon size, because I find when I do freezer meals, the gallon size bags aren't big enough most times. So these 2-gallon size freezer bags are like a well-kept secret. I keep these in the house for so many different things. And then also I just have some sandwich bags as well. And then I have these snack containers and lids. They're just by the like the store brand, and they hold 9.5 fluid ounces, and these are going to be used for a breakfast recipe I am going to try out this time. So that's everything that I purchased to kind of put the food in, and now I'm going to get started with showing you the different types of meals that I'm going to be freezing and how I put them all together. Now, as my meats get started on the stovetop, I have ground beef on, and also I have chicken boiling. I'm going to take a moment and start packaging some meals I already have done. Yesterday, it was so simple and pretty self-explanatory. So yesterday I took 5 boneless, skinless chicken breasts and I put them in my crock pot with barbecue sauce. I let them sit all day long and then I just shredded them with 2 forks. And they shred so easily, it's like no work at all. That's what we had for dinner last night, but then I put all of the leftovers in the fridge, and now I'm going to package them out and put the rest in the freezer to have throughout the fall whenever we need a quick meal. To do this, I'm going to use storage size bags, and then I will most likely fill these pretty full, and that'll feed our whole family for the evening. And then I will put the storage bags into one larger gallon size bag with the information of what it is on the front of it. So another meal that I have left over from this past weekend is Italian sausage, and I made a ton of this and have a ton left over. So I'm going to do different portions. I'm going to do one in this non-stick baking dish, and then I think I'm also going to put a few pieces of sausages in each of these bags. I'll see how much I have, and then this will become more freezer meals in different variations, where I can pull the bag out and put it in a small crock pot, or I can put all of this into the oven to heat up or into a pot. So to label the Italian sausage in this pan, I decided not to use the lids that come with these, just because they're going to take up so much more space in the freezer. So I'm going to let this freeze, and anything that I put in a container like this, let it freeze completely, and then I will layer them in the freezer after everything is completely frozen. I had these address labels that were left over from shipping things, and on here I just wrote Italian sausage and the day that it was made. And then I also have the bags, which I will be putting into a freezer Ziploc as well. So the Italian sausage is done, and to make the Italian sausage, it was so easy. Again, just I use sweet Italian sausage so that it's not too spicy for the kids, some of your favorite pasta sauce, and then fresh green pepper and onion, and I put it in the crock pot for the day. So I have these smaller, more like individual size servings of it, or I have a nice large one that I can make for a meal for the entire family. So the Italian sausage is now done. So these two different meals are done. This is, like I said, the stuff that I already had done in the fridge and just needed packaged. So this is going to go in the freezer, and then I'm going to kind of regroup my station. Everything kind of happens on the island while my noodles are cooking, and then I'm going to put together my pasta bakes. What I've learned from freezer meals, I'm kind of going vlog style here because my other camera is charging. What I've learned from freezer meals is there's always something to do. So while something is cooking on the stove, if you have like all 4 burners going, like do a little bit of cleanup or chop your veggies for your next dish or something like that. So just like constantly think about what needs to be done next so that you're kind of ahead of the game and you're not like ready for the next step but didn't chop something before when you had 20 minutes where you couldn't do anything else. So that is another big tip of mine. And we're gonna keep on moving along. So since I know that I need to do more pasta noodles other than just these cavatappi, I am just using this strainer to pull my noodles out so that my water is already boiling for the next noodle that goes in, which is going to be lasagna noodles. Oh, look at that steam. You can't even see. So I'm just pulling out all of these by hand instead of straining the water down the down the sink. And a couple may not end up in here, but that's okay. I'll get a majority of them. And then I can go ahead and put this meal together, and my lasagna noodles can go right in. I don't have to wait for the water to reboil. The next recipe that I'm going to be putting together is my pasta bake. So in this very large bowl, I just have ground beef. You can definitely do ground turkey if that's what you prefer. And I'm just kind of breaking up the bigger chunks right now. Hey guys, hush. And then once that's broken up, I'm going to add my sauce. This is a Parmesan Romano sauce, so it adds a little bit to the recipe since it's kind of like a boring, bland meal. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the full jar of that in. And then I'm also going to add in my cavatappi. Now these I cooked to like extreme al dente. So they are pretty much like half cooked noodles, a little over half cooked, I guess. I'm just going to pour those in. The reason I do that is so that when you put this in the oven to reheat it, your noodles don't get all mushy. They'll be like the perfect consistency once it's done. So I'm going to stir all of this together, making sure it's evenly distributed. And this is like the easiest meal in the world. Even to make this from scratch like on a busy night, it really doesn't take that long. But to be able to pull it out from the freezer is even easier. So that is all incorporated, and then I'm going to add a pack of mozzarella cheese. And then usually whenever I pull this out to reheat it, I add a little bit of mozzarella cheese to the top, like roughly like right before it's ready, to kind of add another layer of cheese, because I'm not adding a ton into the recipe. And then I'll also serve with Parmesan cheese, this little clump, because I want to break up. There we go. Alright, so then once this is all done, we're going to put it in our freezer thing. So this is going to make 2 full freezer meals, and it was 1 box of pasta, and I don't know how much ground meat. I think in total I did 4 pounds of ground meat, and that's going to make 2 meals of lasagna rolls and then 2 meals of this too, hopefully. So, like I said, I'm just eyeballing it. And these are non-stick, so I think I'll be okay not spraying them. Sorry about the kids in the background. This is real life. I wish they would do cooking shows with like 3 kids running around the person's feet and see how well they can still concentrate on what they're doing, because it is not easy. Alright, but when you're cooking dinner as a mom, that's real life. So, oh goodness. And I'm just gonna this packs down really easily to get like a bunch in there. And then, so usually this will make enough for a dinner for our whole family, and then it will leave enough for leftovers for either Joshua for lunch the next day or my husband for lunch the next day. Depending on my husband's schedule. He's always the first dibs at the leftovers, and if he doesn't take them, then I'll feed them to Joshua. So this may actually leave enough to do for. Hey guys, can you? Hey, Lillian, be nice. Joshua. Recipe I'm going to be doing is lasagna rolls, and the premise of the recipe is pretty much the same as the pasta bake, but just a different variation. So I have my ground beef in the same bowl I was using because it's the same things going in. I'm going to add a jar of just traditional pasta sauce, if I can get it open. There we go. And I'm going to add that whole jar in. And then I'm also going to add in mozzarella cheese. Now this is a 4-cup bag, and usually the bags are like 2 cups, I believe. Yeah, because this is 16 ounces. I'm not going to add all of this cheese in, just because I like to add cheese on the top of the lasagna rolls whenever I go to put them in to bake them. So I'm going to add about half of the bag. And I'm just going to combine all of this. And then once this is combined, I'll show you how I assemble them. The lasagna noodles that I used, I just cooked them until they were flexible and able to kind of be maneuvered. And I'm going to just put my filling in. Now, if you are a person that likes normal lasagna with like normal ricotta cheese, by all means make this how you like it. My family is just very picky and doesn't love that sort of thing, so I make what I know we'll eat. So that is ready to go. I'm going to grab my lasagna noodle. I'm going to lay it out on a cutting board. I'm going to probably use a regular spoon here. So let's use like a large serving spoon, and I'm just going to put the filling in the whole way down. I love this meal, and I love how easy it is to pull it out of the freezer and just put it in the oven, and it's good to go. So I'm going to roll these up. It's going to be very messy, but it's okay. So that's how I roll them, and then I just slide it into the cooking dish or the bakeware that I have, and then I just try and line them up as tightly as possible so they kind of like force each other to stay together. So I will show you what this looks like once I have the entire batch rolled out. So here are the 2 trays of lasagna rolls completely finished. What I like to do is before these go in the oven, I will put a thin layer of sauce over top and then a layer of mozzarella cheese as well. But those are 2 items I always have on hand. So like I'm just gonna leave it off for now because it'll be fresher. It'll like add a layer of freshness, I guess is what I'm saying. So these are ready to be packed up, and another meal is done. Another great tip with these is that if you're a stay-at-home mom like me, where like your evenings are what get a lot busier, what I'll do is I'll pull these out in the very, like maybe even the night before, put it in the fridge, and then I'll bake it that day when I'm at home. And then after school, if we're running to a baseball game or something like that, I'll just leave it sitting out while we're gone, or just leave it in the oven but the oven turned off. And when we get home, all I have to do is like heat it fast. Like everything's ready to go, everything's thawed, but it'll heat up real fast. So that's it for the lasagna rolls, and I'm on to chicken stuffed shells. So we took a bit of a lunch break, and I'm back now. I have the chicken that I boiled. It is good to go. I'm going to chop this up into bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to start on my chicken stuffed shell freezer meal. For this, you need the chicken, obviously, and then you need this cubed stuffing. This one is Pepperidge Farm, and it's just like cubed breaded stuffing. It's really easy to find. I'm using a whole bag of this. I'm using 5 pieces of chicken, and then probably a bag and a half of mozzarella cheese, so about 10, 12 ounces of mozzarella cheese. and large shells, like pasta shells. So I'm going to get the chicken ready. I'm going to make the stuffing, and then I'm going to mix it all together and stuff it in the shells, and I'll show you that process. Alright, once my stuffing is done, I'm going to add my shredded chicken. This is actually only 3 of the 5 chicken breasts. I think this is going to be enough. So the other 2 I will just freeze. They're already cooked. I can pull them out to do like a chicken noodle casserole or something like that in them really quickly. So I'm going to add my chicken into my stuffing here. And then I'm going to stir that in. Let's see. Ugh. This might actually make more than enough. This seems like a lot. So I'm going to stir this in. Let's move this over since I'm done with that. This one is actually pretty one to do with your hands a little bit too, once the stuffing's not so hot, to incorporate it all. And then once that's all in, I'm going to add my cheese. So I'm using mozzarella cheese. I'm going to finish out the bag that I already had, which is about, let's see, 8 ounces. And then I'll see if I need any more. It's really hard to work with because it's kind of hot, but I feel like the spoon doesn't really get it all. So now to assemble these, I'm going to use these rectangle pans again. I'm hoping to get 2 pans out of this. I'm just going to take one of my large stuffed shells. Like I said with the lasagna, same thing here. The noodles are not completely cooked. I'm going to take just like a little handful of my mixture. I'm going to shove it in the noodle, and once it's all in there, I'm going to set it in the pan. And I'm just going to keep doing this until the pan is full. To now wrap these up with the plastic wrap and the foil and label them. The only thing I need to do before I put these in the oven once I take them out of the freezer and thaw them is I like to drizzle either Alfredo sauce or like cream of chicken soup diluted with water over top of this, and then they'll be ready to go into the oven on the nights that we are ready to eat them. So I'm going to get these covered. So the last couple things that I'm going to work on for freezer meals are muffins, and muffins are something that we go through so quickly. So I end up making these like 1 box of muffins every single week on a Sunday usually. But to get me started off for the school year, I'm going to do 3 boxes. I'm going to store them in the freezer. That way, like, if I miss a week at the beginning of the school year, it's not that big of a deal, and we'll always have muffins on hand. So today I'm doing blueberry, chocolate chip, and banana, and yes, I'm using box mixes. It's just so much easier for me, and sometimes you just have to take shortcuts. So I am going to start on a box of muffins, and then I also have some eggs here to scramble up because I'm doing another breakfast dish as well. So while my first set of muffins were in the oven, I whipped up this freezer meal as well. I'm using these little snack containers to house this freezer meal, and this is a breakfast meal for my husband. So my husband gets very, very busy in the fall months, and he's at the office a lot and like really early some mornings. So instead of him stopping to grab something fast food for breakfast, I have started making him freezer breakfast a while ago. Last year I did the breakfast burritos, which he actually really does like, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. So this is just russet potatoes cooked on a skillet. They're chunked up with salt, pepper, and garlic salt, and a little bit of olive oil. And I'm like evenly distributing these. I think it was 4-ish potatoes. But I just like made sure that I had enough to fill all 6 of my containers. I'm only making 6 of these right now because if it's a major like, oh, I cannot eat these, then it's not like 100 burritos wasted or 100 containers of this wasted. So I just have my 6 containers of potatoes evenly distributed, sausage gravy, which I just found a packet, added the milk and the water, made the sausage gravy, which is like all thickened up, and then also I scrambled up like 7 eggs and threw in 4 slices of bacon chopped up in there as well. So on top of the potatoes, I'm going to add the sausage gravy. I think in the recipe I saw for this, it was salsa that they added on top. My husband was like, I don't really think I want the salsa. So he's like, what about sausage gravy? So we're going to try it and see how it goes. And I'm just going to add these onto here. And this is going to make much more sausage gravy than I need. Like, I'm not going to need all the sausage gravy, so I'll save that for him. And then I'm just going to take my eggs. I'm going to put my eggs on top. And he's going to have like a nice little breakfast in a bowl, like a breakfast bowl-ish. So I just want to make sure that I have enough to get onto each and every one of these, and then I'll go back through and add whatever is left, because you don't want to go through like 4 of them and run out and then have to redistribute. So just put a little in each one at first, and then you can always go back and add more. So once those are in, I will then package them up for the freezer. And every freezer meal that I do, I let it cool completely before putting it in the freezer. I don't want to get like the freezer burn or anything like that. So those are all put in there, and then he can just bring the containers home once he's done with this, and I can refill them either with another breakfast meal or maybe something for lunch next time. So I'm just going to add these onto here. You could probably do like a layer of plastic wrap in there. I'm going to see how it does without doing that. I am going to put this in a freezer bag though. So all 6 of those are in there, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to my freezer bag. Alright, so all of my muffins are done. I have blueberry muffins, banana muffins, and chocolate chip muffins. And I thought I would show you how I put them into storage bags to freeze them. Now, the kids do know to leave their storage bags out. I decided to start fresh for the school year, but typically I'll just reuse bags when possible. And I just put 2 regular size muffins in a baggie, or 3 bite-sized muffins in the smaller snack size bags. And I put them in. I let the air out. The kids will eat these either for breakfast. We will take them out of the fridge either the night before, or if we forget, you can pop them in the microwave for a couple seconds and they will be totally fine to eat. And then, or sometimes they like taking muffins for either their snack or their lunch. In that case, we can just pop them frozen into their lunchbox or into their backpack for a snack. And by the time that time frame rolls around, they are thawed out and ready to eat. So I'm just going to go through and get all of these. Alright, so there are all of my muffins all bagged up. These actually stay in the freezer in here because the kids actually will pull these out when helping make lunches or make breakfast in the mornings. So those stay in the inside freezer and everything else goes outside. And I'm on to my last and final freezer meal, which is prepping strombolis. So the last thing on my list to make for today is strombolis, and I am worn out and I don't even want to do it, but I know I'll feel so much better if they're just done, so I'm going to power through. The dough that I use for my strombolis is this Ready Dough by Bridgeford, and it comes 3 like loaves in a pack, and I kind of cut those in thirds, and that's how many, so I will get 9 strombolis out of this pack. So I am going to walk you through the first one and show you how I do this, and then I'll just continue on. So I have some flour on my cutting board. I'm going to put the flour on the dough, and I'm just going to pull out the dough till it's easily workable to like put the toppings in. And for us, we just do cheese and pepperoni, but you could definitely add to this. I've done ones before that have peppers and onions in them. I've added mushrooms before as well, but this time I'm just going to do pepperoni. So that's pretty good. I kind of go in like a oval shape, and then I just add some sauce, and this is just regular spaghetti sauce. You could use pizza sauce if you wanted to. You could make your own sauce if you wanted to. It really is like personal preference. And I just put some sauce in there, and then after the sauce is down, I put my cheese, which I'm just using a mozzarella cheese, and then my pepperoni. And this is a very messy process, which is why I like to do them all at one time and freeze them instead of trying to do it on the day that as you can see, I'm just rolling it kind of around itself. I always make sure I tuck the ends over so that when they freeze, they kind of like create this barrier so nothing comes out. And if some does ooze out in the oven, that's like the best part of the stromboli anyway. So I'm not really too picky. So once it's in kind of like a stromboli shape, I just kind of flatten it out and I set it aside, and then I keep going through the whole process. The strombolis are all rolled up, and now I'm going to show you how I freeze them. Basically, I wrap them in plastic wrap. So I just take one. It is snack time in our house, so it might be a little bit noisy. And I just roll it into like plastic wrap, and then once it's rolled in that, I take a small piece of aluminum foil and I roll it in that. And then, once I get all of them to this point, I then put them in a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed being in the kitchen with me while I put my freezer meals together. Like I said, any links that I can find will be in the blog post below to kind of make it a little bit easier to follow. This was kind of just showing my method and how I get it all put together. So actual recipes will be on the blog. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more freezer meal videos or recipe videos. It's something that I could consider doing in the future. If you guys like the style of just kind of throwing things together and not really the exact measurements. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again real soon. Bye everyone.